Hey everybody, I'm Joel Stottlemyre, and I am the founder of the Dryden Experiment and Dryden House Publishing, and I'm here today to talk to you just a little bit about how to do submissions for Dryden House Publishing. We're not like a conventional publishing house, and so I wanted to just take a minute to actually sit down and sort of explain to folks what it is that we do and how you need to submit to us. So I'm going to sort of assume that you've got a basic idea of how the Dryden Experiment works and just kind of give you a light review to make sure we've got everybody on board. The way the Dryden Experiment, now the Dryden Experiment is separate from Dryden House, okay, so catch that right away because that's really key to what's going on here. The Dryden Experiment is a set of genre, a set of environments, fiction environments, science fiction environment, horror environment, steampunk environment, a whole lot of different environments that we have put under the Creative Commons license, Creative Commons BYSA 4.0 license. And what that license tells us is that anybody is free to come in and riff on the material and free to develop their own material off of that material, provided that they do a couple of things. They need to acknowledge that they got the information or the settings and environments from Dryden House, and they need to put their settings and environments under the BYSA 4.0 license as well. So, for example, if you wanted to build a game and you wanted to set it in one of our universes, that game is your game, you own it, you own the rights to the game, etc., etc. All of the elements that describe the universe, that describe characters, that describe spaceships or steampunk machines or whatever it is, have to be under the BYSA 4.0 license. And any materials that you use out of the Dryden need to be acknowledged. Generally, we do that just at the front with a little copyright note that this material is copyright the Dryden Experiment. But if you happen to know the actual author or artist, you should go ahead and acknowledge them. All right. Well, that has nothing to do with Dryden House Publishing. That is Creatively Commons available material that you are free to use. We have a number of authors and artists who use our material and riff and publish where they want to. That's fabulous. We encourage that because that encourages market share, right? When that person gets out and promotes their Dryden Experiment material, it has to be labeled as such. And so that helps, person Y, who is also creating Dryden Experiment material. I can give you an example. Dan Hunt writes in our science fiction universe. He's an author. He wrote Eclipsing of Cyrus C. He's got another book coming out soon. He participated in a project called The Rise of the European. Well, Dan markets his own books. He publishes by himself. But Nicholas Mall with Owlman Press, who builds games set in our universe, works closely with Dan because Owlman Press enjoys the attention that Nick's book or that Dan's books bring to the Dryden Experiment. So they cross-promote each other, even though they're completely remote from each other. Nick is in Ballarat, Australia, and Dan is in St. Louis, United States. They share this Creative Commons universe so that they can cross-promote each other. And that's really cool, and we love that. And that happens completely without Dryden House. That's the Dryden Experiment. Hopefully, if you're visiting us through the website, you've been over and you've taken a look at a couple of the tabs over on the side, and you've figured out sort of what the universes are like and how they work. And that was all very repeated for you. However, a lot of folks who work in Dryden are not interested in publishing. They're not self-editors. As an author myself, I feel completely incapable of editing my own books. And so what I have done, along with Gavin Revitt, who's a graphic designer, artist, and just general incredibly talented person, and Tracy Vincent, who is our chief editor and is very, very talented in that regard, has set up Dryden House Publishing. And you are now talking about Dryden House Publishing. We are now having a conversation about Dryden House Publishing. So Dryden House Publishing sits on the side of the Dryden Experiment. And what we do is we provide publishing services, marketing, advertising, book layouts, all of those sorts of materials, specifically for people who are developing materials in the Dryden Experiment. We don't work with anybody outside of the Dryden Experiment. We're a Creative Commons only market. We deal specifically with those folks. So what happens is you've created some material, or you want to create some material, you want to write a game, etc., 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 but you really don't have the other components you need. You don't have the editing, you don't have the graphic layout, you don't have or graphic design. And you need somebody to work with to help you bring your Dryden Experiment material, whatever genre it is, into market. Well, you are the person who should submit to Dryden Experiment, or to Dryden House, rather. What we do when we choose to work with an author or an artist, we do the editing. We do the book layout. We'll get you an artist for your book cover if you need one. We will put your book into market. Most of our advertising is word of mouth, but we will run promotions and specials and advertisements within our capabilities for your book to get it out there and get the attention to it in the market. Most of our attention and most of our advertising is exactly what I just described. It's that shared market. It's that word of mouth. People know the Dryden Experiment, and so if they see the Dryden House name on something, they know to come pick it up. But we do marketing. We do advertising logos, and we get into all of the Facebook groups and get advanced reader copies sent out to folks, and we do all of those sort of components for you. All right. The kind of cool thing about the way we do it is that we don't charge for that, and we also don't pay you for your book. What we do is we write you a contract for your book that is going to split the revenue for the book most of the time exactly 50-50 between Dryden House and you. So you bring the content to us, we do the layout on it, and then we just exactly split it. Whatever the net is that comes into the house, we draw a line right down the middle, and it goes 50-50 back to you and then to the house. So the kind of cool deal about that, the way that works is very cool, is that we share the risk with you. We have a vested interest in your book being successful, because we're not going to make any money if it's not. But we also are able to work with first-time authors and experimental authors and so on and so forth, because our model is very low cost. We put books into market very inexpensively. Typically, when we put a book or a game into market, we'll put it into KDP, production through KDP. We will use CreateSpace a lot of times, which is the publisher or the printing house that Amazon owns, and so we're sure that we get inserted into the Amazon market. We're very, very guerrilla though, so we also like to work with Smashwords, which is sort of an independent marketplace for electronic books, and you can do a whole lot of business out there in your book entirely electronically. We do it through Smashwords. Then we also use instruments like RPG Now and Drive-Thru RPG and Drive-Thru. Oh, they have a whole series of drive-through books, drive-through cards, drive-through blah, 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 that allow us to get our books and games into the sort of independent markets. And that's just sort of something we would talk through with you, and we would tailor what we were going to do to your needs and your desires. So the kind of warning that kind of comes as a surprise to some people is that if you're coming to us through the Creative Commons and you're really into the Creative Commons and everything's very, very hippie and very kind of everybody does what they want, that's absolutely the way the Dryden Experiment is supposed to work. Once you come to house, we will edit you, and it can be unpleasant. We've had people who were sort of shocked that it went from the lovey-dovey, everybody working together of the Dryden Experiment that we love and we promote and support to, well, that doesn't work and we're going to have to make a change. And that shocks people. And dealing with page count and cost per, we're working on a card game right now, and cost per card is very important, and it's changing how the game works because there's a price point out there beyond which we just can't be profitable, and so we have to know how many cards we're going to make. So be aware. We work with Dryden. We work with the Dryden peeps. We're the hippie, laid back. Look at the hat I'm wearing. We are definitely very laid back. But we will do the editing work that your book requires. We will do the layout work that your book requires, and that can be kind of difficult and kind of shocking. You know, we got to get it ready for market and get it out, those advanced reader copies out, and get it ready to go. So that's the sort of summary. If you would like to submit to Dryden House, we'd love to see you. Make sure that you understand the universe that you're going into. Make sure that you understand the Creative Commons. The first thing that happens if we're interested in working with you is that Tracy Venson or I will get you on a YouTube or on a Google chat and ask you, do you understand the Dryden Experiment? Do you understand where you are in terms of Creative Commons? What is it that your book brings to our universe, etc., etc., etc. But then if we like it, we'll offer you a contract, and we'll put you under contract, and maybe we can make something really cool and exciting happen out there in the market. We are the rebellion. We are guerrilla. We do things cooperatively. We do things under Creative Commons. We do things through social media rather than through paid advertisement, but it can be really cool, and it can be a lot of fun to kind of do things that way. So if I haven't scared you away, and if you do understand the Dryden Experiment process and the Creative Commons process, we'd love to hear from you. The email is drydenhousesubmissions@gmail, DRYDENHOUSE, submissions, SUBMISSIONS, @ gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you, and we look forward to working with you. Welcome, Rebel. Welcome to Dryden House. Have a great day.